read? Okay. We
आप
continue reading from
श्लोक
Bhagavad
आप पढ़िए।
Gita. Okay. Bhagavad Gita
50
as it is, chapter 2, text 51. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi
कर्मज बुद्धि युक्ता ही
phalam tvattva manishinah
फलम त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः
janma bandha vinirmuktah
जन्म बंध विमुक्ताः
padam gachanti anamayam.
पदम गच्छन्ति अनामयम्। इस तरह भगवत भक्ति में लगे रहकर बड़े बड़े ऋषि मुनि अथवा भक्तगण अपने आप को इस भौतिक संसार में कर्म के फलों से मुक्त कर लेते हैं। इस प्रकार वे जन्म मृत्यु के चक्कर से छूट जाते हैं और भगवान के पास जाकर उस अवस्था को प्राप्त करते हैं जो समस्त दुखों से परे। मुक्त जीवों का संबंध उस स्थान से होता है जहाँ भौतिक कष्ट नहीं होते हैं। भागवतम में कहा गया है,
Mashitaye padapallavaplavam mahat padam punya yasho murare bhavam buddhirvatsa padam param padam 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 yad vipatam natesham.
जिसने उन भगवान के चरण कमल रूपी नाव को ग्रहण कर लिया है जो दृश्य जगत के आश्रय है और मुकुद नाम के विख्यात है, अर्थात मुक्ति के दाता। उसके लिए यह भवसागर गोखुर में समाये जल के समान है। उसका लक्ष्य परम पदम है, अर्थात वह स्थान जहाँ भौतिक कष्ट नहीं है, या कि वैकुंठ है वह स्थान नहीं जहाँ पद पद पर संकट हो। अज्ञानवश मनुष्य नहीं समझ सकता, अज्ञानवश मनुष्य यह नहीं समझ पाता कि यह भौतिक जगत ऐसा दुखमय स्थान है जहाँ पद पद पर संकट है। केवल अज्ञानवश अल्पज्ञानी पुरुष यह सोचकर कि कर्मों से वे सुखी रह सकेंगे, सकाम करते हुए स्थिति को सहन करते हैं। उन्हें यह ज्ञात नहीं है कि इस संसार में कहीं भी कोई भी शरीर दुखों से रहित नहीं है। संसार में सर्वत्र जीवन के दुख, जन्म मृत्यु, जरा तथा व्याधि विद्यमान है, किंतु वास्तविक स्वरूप को समझ लेता है और इस प्रकार भगवान की स्थिति को समझ लेता है, वही भगवान की प्रेमा भक्ति में लगता है। फलस्वरूप वह वैकुंठ लोक जाने का अधिकारी बन जाता है, जहाँ न तो भौतिक कष्टमय जीवन है, न ही काल का प्रभाव तथा मृत्यु है। अपने स्वरूप को जानने का अर्थ है भगवान की अलौकिक स्थिति को भी जान लेना। जो भ्रमवंश यह सोचता है कि जीव स्थिति तथा भगवान की स्थिति एक समान है, उसे समझो कि वह अंधकार में है और स्वयं भगवत भक्ति करने में असमर्थ है। वह अपने आप को प्रभु मान लेता है और इस तरह जन्म मृत्यु के पुनरावृत्ति का पथ चुन लेता है। किंतु जो यह समझते हैं कि उसकी स्थिति सेवक की है, अपने को भगवान की सेवा में लगा देता है, वह तुरंत ही वैकुंठ लोक को जाने का अधिकारी बन जाता है। भगवान की सेवा कर्मयोग या बुद्धि योग कहलाती है, जिसे स्पष्ट शब्दों में भगवत भक्ति कहते हैं।
So, in this verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna how to get out of this world of birth and death and go back home, back to Godhead. He's saying you engage in karma yoga or bhakti yoga. You know, engaging in devotional service, he's saying you can get free from the results of work because Krishna has been telling Arjuna, you do your duty, but you offer the result to me. Do it for my satisfaction. So that is karma yoga. When we do whatever we need to do and then offer the results to Krishna. Of course, those activities have to be not sinful activities, cannot do sinful activities. So here, Bhagavatam, the verse is saying, if we, this material ocean, this material world is compared to a huge ocean, very huge ocean. But one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, one who's taken the shelter of lotus feet of Mukunda, this whole ocean, material ocean, which is so difficult to overcome, this whole ocean becomes so small as the water which is there in a calf's hoofprint. Calf is so small, smaller than a cow, and its hoof is so small. And then just the water inside is so little. So imagine we're a big ocean, how we can cross. And this is just a tiny, tiny water. We can easily cross beyond it. How? Taking shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda. That's what it's saying. And where can we go? Go to Vaikuntha. What is Vaikuntha? Over there is Parampadam. Why is it called Parampadam? Because there is no miseries there. But here in the material world, there is danger at every step. In Vaikuntha, there is no misery. Here, material world, we are not able to understand. Every step there is danger. Anything can happen. And then we say, oh yeah, it's true, anything can happen. Anytime we have seen, anytime an earthquake can happen, anytime a tornado hits, just anything can happen. Anytime we hear people, they were fine, I don't know what happened, they just died. So that this is the material world, that's the nature of this material world, where there is danger at every step, but we don't realize it. We are completely forgotten that we are the souls. We're not this body. We keep thinking, yeah, it happens. We get used to this sudden things happening because we are ignorant of our real position as spirit souls, as eternal parts and parcels of Krishna. We are thinking we are the body, and we're always trying to adjust to this material situation. We are always trying to adjust. Oh, right now I'm not happy. Let me adjust the situation so I will be happy. But then when we adjust the situation, that also is a temporary situation. So it's always temporary adjustments that we are doing. So where is the real happiness? The real happiness is in Vaikuntha. Now, how can we reach Vaikuntha? Here Krishna is saying engage in karma yoga or bhakti yoga. Karma yoga is we do our work, offer the result to Krishna. Bhakti yoga is we work for the result, for the pleasure of Krishna. So there's a slight difference there. Here Prabhupada is pointing out one who understands his real constitutional position as eternal servant of the Lord. So what does Lord Chaitanya says? What is our real constitutional position? Lord Chaitanya says, Jivera Swarupai Krishna Nityadas. We are eternally servants of Krishna. And this service is based on love. It's a transcendental loving service. Not the love which we see in the material world, which is actually lust, but goes in the name of love. This is real love between Krishna and the living entity. So Krishna is giving an open invitation to us. He's saying, come, come. And then here, Prabhupada is saying, one who engages in love, transcendental loving service, goes back home, back to Godhead. Over there is no birth, death, old age, disease. Now, if we understand our position, we also have to understand Krishna's position. We'll say, yeah, I know Krishna. Yeah, I know he was Makanchor, he was he was in the night dancing with the gopis, and he had 16,000 queens. That's not really knowing Krishna. We have to understand the position of Krishna. tattva. Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvataha. Understanding Krishna in tattva. What is Krishna's position? And then he says, if we understand that, then we don't need to come back to this material world. We can go back to the spiritual world. So the Krishna's position is so beautifully described in Srimad Bhagavatam, especially in the first three cantos, which deal with creation, of how Lord Krishna is there and how he's creating the universes. He's the Supreme Lord. All the authorities say that. Brahmaji also says, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Everything, everyone belongs to him. That's Krishna's position. And we keep thinking, oh, Krishna's activities, my activities, same to same, you know? Oh, it's the same thing. But when Krishna steals butter, this stealing of butter is glorified. The bhajan's written on it. There is deities made like this. But if we do any stealing, we are going to be reprimanded, put behind bars. You know, so we cannot compare our activities to Krishna's. Krishna is he is transcendental. He's the Supreme Lord. If we think we are the same, then we are not going to be able to get out of the material world. Why? Because we'll think, oh, I'm God myself. Why should I engage in devotional service? And that's the only way that we can get out. There is no other way. The Shastras are saying, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Eva Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. They are saying 3 times, there's no other way, no other way, no other way, except chanting the name of Hari. So we need to understand our position. The more we hear and chant, the more we will understand our position. The more we will engage in devotional service. So we regularly, we hear and we chant to understand our position, understand Krishna's position. And devotional service begins. It begins with hearing and chanting. Hearing from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Is that okay? Going to the next one. Yadate moha. This is another meter, sorry. Yadate moha kalilam.
Yada te moha kalilam.
Buddhir vyati tarishyati.
Buddhi vyatitarishyati.
Tada gantasi nirvedam.
Tada ganta asi nirvedam.
Shrotavyasya shrutasya cha.
Shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. जब तुम्हारी बुद्धि मोह रूपी सघन वन को पार कर जाएगी तो तुम सुने हुए तथा सुनने योग्य सबके प्रति अनमस्क नस्क हो जाएंगे। भगवत भक्तों के जीवन में ऐसे अनेक उदाहरण प्राप्त हैं जिनमें भगवत भक्ति के कारण वैदिक कर्मकांड की विरक्ति हो जाती है। जब मनुष्य श्री कृष्ण को तथा उनके साथ अपने संबंध को वास्तविक रूप में समझ लेता है तो वह सकाम कर्मों के अनुष्ठानों के प्रति पूर्णतया अन्य मनस्क हो जाता है, भले ही वह अनुभवी ब्राह्मण क्यों न हो। भक्त परंपरा के महान भक्त तथा आचार्य श्री माधवेंद्र पुरी का कहना है,
Sandhya vandana bhadramastu bhavato bhosna anatobhyam namo bho deva pitarascha tarpana vidau naham shama shamyatam yatra kvapi nishadya yadava kulottam yasyakam sadvishaha smaram smaram agam harami tad alam manye kim anye name.
हे मेरी त्रिकाल प्रार्थनाओं तुम्हारी जय हो। हे स्नान तुम्हें प्रणाम है। हे देव पितृगण अब मैं आप लोगों के लिए तर्पण करने में असमर्थ हूँ। अब तो जहां भी बैठता हूँ यादव कुलवंशी कंस के हंता श्री कृष्ण का ही स्मरण करता हूँ और इस तरह मैं अपने पाप में बंधन से मुक्त हो सकता हूँ। मैं सोचता हूँ कि यही मेरे लिए पर्याप्त है। वैदिक रस्मों तथा अनुष्ठान तथा त्रिकाल संध्या, प्रातःकालीन स्नान, पितृ तर्पण आदि नव दीक्षों के अनिवार्य के लिए अनिवार्य है। किंतु जब कोई पूर्णतया कृष्ण भावना भक्ति भक्त हो जाता हो और कृष्ण की दिव्य प्रेम भक्ति में लगा हो, तो वह इन विधि विधानों के प्रति उदासीन हो जाता है, क्योंकि उससे पहले ही सिद्धि प्राप्त हो चुकी होती है। यदि कोई परमेश्वर कृष्ण की सेवा करके ज्ञान को प्राप्त होता है, तो उसे शास्त्रों में वर्णित विभिन्न प्रकार की तपस्याएं तथा यज्ञ करने की आवश्यकता नहीं रह जाती। इसी प्रकार जो यह नहीं समझता कि वेदों का उद्देश्य कृष्ण तक पहुंचना है और अपने आप को अनुष्ठानिक में व्यस्त रखना है, यह केवल अपना समय नष्ट करना है। कृष्ण भावना भावित व्यक्ति शब्द ब्रह्म की सीमा या वेदों तथा उपनिषदों की परिधि को भी लांघ जाते हैं।
Krishna is continuing to tell Arjuna that you engage in devotional service, and then what will happen? So here Prabhupada is giving us the examples of what happens when one is engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord. They're so happy in the relationship, they're so fulfilled in this relationship with Krishna that they understand that these rituals just for the sake of some dharma, artha, kama, moksha is not necessary because those are still on the material level. But relationship with Krishna is completely transcendental. Completely transcendental. That's our real position. That's what we eternally do. The living entity, the soul, and Krishna. It's an eternal loving relationship. So Prabhupada is giving the example of Madhavendra Puri, a great acharya in our line, that he says, now I can't, I'm just always thinking of Krishna. I'm not able to do any other rituals. You know, some people take bath in the holy rivers as a ritual, or offering the Shraddha, or offering um, worship to the demigods as rituals to get something material. But Madhavendra Puri, he's so happy in his relationship with Krishna. He doesn't want anything material. He doesn't want to engage in anything ritualistic. That's why he's saying, I think this is sufficient for me. I can free myself from all sinful bondage. Devotional service to Krishna is transcendental. We cannot even compare the results of doing these rituals, because doing the rituals are still going to keep us here in the material world. They are sure they may take us to heavenly planets, or give us more types of sense gratification, but they will still keep us in the material world. So here Madhavendra Puri is saying, for me, by engaging in devotional service to Krishna, I can free myself from all sinful bondage, and that is sufficient for me. So so Prabhupada is pointing out that these rituals are important for the beginners. Important for the beginners, but when one is completely Krishna conscious, he's completely realized his relationship with Krishna, then he doesn't want to engage. It's not required for him to engage in any of these rituals. Prabhupada is pointing out, if one can reach the platform of understanding by service to Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different penances and sacrifice. Because in the Vedas, they give so many penances, so many sacrifices, we won't even be able to do a tiny portion of them, because in this age of Kali, we barely have very short lives. And we do not even have the capability and capacity to do such things. But if we engage in devotional service to Krishna, the results we get is far beyond following rituals just simply for the sake of following them, without understanding what they are for. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vedasya sarver aham eva vidya. By all the Vedas, Krishna is to be known. If by simply performing all the rituals, all the penances, austerities, one does not come to the point of surrender to Krishna, then all that is simply a waste of time. Because the Vedas are telling us to do such austerities, rituals, whatever, is to come to point to understand Krishna's position and our position as eternal servants of Krishna. But if we are not going to come to the conclusion, just get ourselves involved with those rituals, then what is the point of it? Whereas we can immediately take up service of Krishna. By engaging in devotional service, we are immediately taking up service of Krishna. Service of Krishna is on the transcendental platform. So Krishna himself is saying, take up devotional service, take up devotional service. Shruti vipratipanna te.
Shruti viprati panna te
Yadastha yati nischala.
yada sthayasyti nischala
Samadhav achala buddhis.
samadho achla buddhi
Tada yogam avapsyasi.
tada yogam avapyasi. जब तुम्हारा मन वेदों की अलंकारमयी भाषा से विचलित न हो और वह आत्म साक्षात की समाधि में स्थित हो जाए, तब तुम्हें दिव्य चेतना प्राप्त हो जाएगी। कोई समाधि में है, इस कथन का अर्थ यह होता है कि वह पूर्णतया कृष्ण भावना भक्ति है, अर्थात उसने पूर्ण समाधि में ब्रह्म, परमात्मा तथा भगवान को प्राप्त कर लिया है। आत्म साक्षात की सर्वोच्च सिद्धि यह जान लेना है कि मनुष्य कृष्ण का शाश्वत दास है और उसका एकमात्र कर्तव्य कृष्ण भावना अमृत में अपने सारे कर्म करना है। कृष्ण भावना भक्ति व्यक्ति या भगवान के एक निष्ठ भक्त को न तो वेदों की अलंकारीमयी वाणी से विचलित होना चाहिए, न ही स्वर्ग जाने के उद्देश्य से सकम कर्मों में प्रवृत्त होना चाहिए। कृष्ण भावना अमृत में मनुष्य कृष्ण के सानिध्य में रहता है और कृष्ण से प्राप्त सारे आदेश उस दिव्य अवस्था में समझे जा सकते हैं। ऐसे कार्यों को परिणाम स्वरूप निश्चयात्मक ज्ञान की प्राप्ति निश्चित है। उसे कृष्ण या उनके प्रतिनिधि गुरु की आज्ञाओं का पालन मात्र करना होगा।
Krishna is continuing to say that, um, you engage in devotional service and don't let your mind be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas. The Vedic hymns can be very distracting sometimes. They can take us from the goal, which is actually Krishna Prema. We can get so caught up in these rituals and penances, austerities, that we may forget that the goal is actually not to be stuck there, but to engage in service of Krishna. So Krishna is saying, here Prabhupada is helping us point out that one, of course, samadhi, he's saying samadhi, one who has realized Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. So the absolute personality of Godhead, the absolute truth. The absolute truth is realized in three phases. We understand the Supreme Lord as God, a person. The Brahman, the Brahmajyoti is the light coming from his body, and Paramatma is the feature by which he is pervading the entire universe and also seated in the heart of every living entity. That is the complete realization of the absolute truth. And what is perfection of self-realization? That I'm an eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. Jivera Swarupa Krishna Nityadas. Lord Chaitanya begins his teachings with that. Immediately points out our position. We are thinking we are God. We are thinking we are competitors to God. We are controller. We are enjoyer. We are owner. Sure, we may be tiny ones, tiny controllers, tiny enjoyers, tiny owners, but we are not the supreme enjoyer, supreme owner, supreme controller. The supreme controller, proprietor, enjoyer is the Supreme Lord, Bhagwan Sri Krishna. And we are his eternal parts and parcels, his eternal servitors. There's a loving exchange between Krishna and the living entity. So Prabhupada is pointing out that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. So whatever we do, we're doing for the pleasure of Krishna, offering the results of Krishna, then that does not bind us to the material world. Krishna is saying, don't get disturbed by this Vedic language, flowery language. Don't get attracted to going to the heavenly planets, because even if you go to the heavenly planets, over there will be birth, death, old age, disease. Again, you'll come back to the earth. So don't waste time in all this. Come directly to Krishna consciousness. Come to take up directly devotional service. It's like to reach the top floor of a high building, we can either take the stairs or take the elevator. But if we take the stairs, we may get tired, we may get distracted. It takes so much energy, effort. We may also never reach the top because we'll say, oh, it's too tiring, forget it. But if we take the lift, the elevator, it's a direct process, fastest, easiest, the least amount of energy and time required. So taking up bhakti, engaging in bhakti is the direct process. Whereas getting caught up in the flowery language of Vedas, that is the indirect process. Prabhupada is saying that one has to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master, following the instructions of Krishna or the Mahajanas. Mahajana yena gata sapanta. Okay. Arjuna vacha.
Arjun Vacha.
Stita pragyasya ka bhasha.
स्थित प्रज्ञस्य का भाषा.
Samadhisthasya keshava.
समाधिस्थस्य केशव.
Stitadi kim prabhasheta.
स्थिति धी किम प्रभाषेत.
Kim asita vrajeta kim.
किम आसित वजेत किम. अर्जुन ने कहा, हे कृष्ण, अध्यात्म में लीन चेतना वाले व्यक्ति के क्या लक्षण है? वह कैसे बोलता है तथा उसकी भाषा क्या है? वह किस तरह बैठता, चलता और चलता है? जिस प्रकार प्रत्येक व्यक्ति के उसकी विशिष्ट स्थिति के अनुसार कुछ लक्षण होते हैं, उसी प्रकार कृष्ण भावना भक्ति पुरुष का भी विशिष्ट स्वभाव होता है। यथा उसका बोलना, चलना, सोचना आदि जिस प्रकार धनी पुरुष के कुछ लक्षण होते हैं जिससे वह धनवान जाना जाता है, जिस तरह रोगी अपने रोग के लक्षणों से रुग्ण जाना जाता है, या कि विद्वान अपने गुणों से विद्वान जाना जाता है, उसी तरह कृष्ण की दिव्य चेतना से युक्त व्यक्ति अपने विशिष्ट लक्षणों में जाना जाता है। इन लक्षणों को भगवत गीता से जाना जा सकता है, किंतु सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात यह है कि कृष्ण भावना भक्ति व्यक्ति किस तरह बोलता है, क्योंकि वाणी ही किसी मनुष्य का सबसे महत्वपूर्ण गुण है। कहा जाता है कि मूर्ख का पता तब तक नहीं लगता जब तक वह बोलता नहीं है। एक बने ठने मूर्ख को तब तक नहीं पहचाना जा सकता जब तक वह बोले नहीं। किंतु बोलते ही उसका यथार्थ रूप प्रकट हो जाता है। कृष्ण भावना भक्ति व्यक्ति का प्रमुख लक्षण यह है कि वह केवल कृष्ण तथा उन्हीं से संबंधित विषयों के बारे में बोलता है। फिर तो अन्य लक्षण स्वतः प्रकट हो जाते हैं जिनका उल्लेख आगे किया गया है।
So Krishna has been telling Arjuna, you take up devotional service. Take up devotional service. Come to the transcendental platform. So now Arjuna is asking, okay, now you tell me, how does this person who's on the transcendental platform, how does he act? How can I know, what are the activities he does? So Prabhupada in the purport is helping us explain that there's symptoms, no? He's saying if one is diseased, there will be some symptoms. One is learned, there'll be some symptoms. How do we know one is a doctor or a lawyer? They'll be speaking those things. Doctor will speak in medical terms, lawyer will speak in his own law terms. If there's, a financial person, he'll speak in his financial things. So how do we, Arjuna is saying, how do I know one who is Krishna conscious? Then Prabhupada is pointing out that he always speaks about Krishna. There are other symptoms, yes, Srila Prabhupada is saying that will follow, but the most important is, or the immediate symptom, that he's always speaking only of Krishna and matters relating to Krishna. Means he's speaking about Krishna or anything connected with Krishna. And that's how we can know. Because someone may pose to be a very great transcendentalist, great learned, but then is he or she speaking about Krishna? Krishna is saying, Vedas sarvar ahameva vedya. Krishna is saying, by all Vedas, I am to be known. So someone who's speaking of Krishna means he's the most learned, means he studied all the Vedas because he's speaking about Krishna. No. So Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
श्री भगवान उवाच
Vajahati Yada Kaman
प्रजाहाति यदा कामान
Sarvan Partha Manogatan
सर्वान् प्रार्थ्य मनः गतान्
Atmani Evatmana Tushtaha
आत्मनि एव आत्माना तुष्ट
Tita Pragyastadochyate.
स्थित प्रज्ञ तदा उच्यते। श्री भगवान ने कहा, हे पार्थ्य, जब मनुष्य मनोरथ से उत्पन्न होने वाली इंद्र तृप्ति की समस्त कामनाओं का परित्याग कर देता है और जब इस तरह से विशुद्ध हुआ उसका मन आत्मा में संतोष प्राप्त करता है, तो वह विशुद्ध दिव्य चेतना को प्राप्त कहा जाता है। श्री भागवतम में पुष्टि हुई है कि जो मनुष्य पूर्णतः कृष्ण भावना भावित या भगवत भक्त होता है, उसमें महर्षियों के समस्त सद्गुण पाए जाते हैं। किंतु जो व्यक्ति आध्यात्मिक में स्थित नहीं होता, उसमें एक भी योग्यता नहीं होती, क्योंकि वह अपने मनोरथ पर ही आश्रित रहता है। फलतः यहाँ पर यह ठीक ही कहा गया है कि व्यक्ति को मनोरथ द्वारा कल्पित सारी विषय वासनाओं को त्यागना होता है। कृत्रिम साधनों से उनको रोक पाना संभव नहीं है, किंतु यदि कोई कृष्ण भावना अमृत में लगा हो तो सारी विषय वासनाएं स्वतः बिना किसी प्रयास के दब जाती हैं। अतः मनुष्य को बिना किसी झिझक के कृष्ण भावना अमृत में लगना होगा, क्योंकि यह भक्ति उसे दिव्य चेतना प्राप्त करने में सहायक होगी। अत्याधिक उन्नत जीवात्मा महात्मा अपने आप को परमेश्वर का शाश्वत दास मानकर आत्मतुष्ट रहता है। ऐसे आध्यात्मिक पुरुष के पास भौतिकता से उत्पन्न एक भी विषय वासना भटक नहीं पाती। वह अपने को निरंतर भगवान का सेवक मानते हुए सहज रूप से वह सदैव प्रसन्न रहता है।
So then Krishna is replying that Krishna conscious man transcendental man, he has no desire for sense gratification. And this desire for sense gratification, Krishna is saying, arises from mental concoction. Is our mind is making us think, I'm going to enjoy so much if I do this and if I do that. This is what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. That the varieties of desire for sense gratification which arise from mental concoction. And then when the mind is satisfied in self alone. So Prabhupada is helping us understand that a person who's fully Krishna conscious, a pure devotee, he's very happy. He is completely satisfied. Why? Because he's understood his real position, his natural position as eternal loving servant of Krishna. And he's busy in that relationship. He's very busy. And because he is uh, completely on that platform, it's a transcendental platform, he has no material desires. He has no sense desires. So he's not, thinking with his mind, in the sense his mind is not uh, material as such, not making him towards material desires. Here, Prabhupada is saying that when one engages in Krishna consciousness, what happens is our material desires gradually they will stop. They will. Automatically. That's what happens when we chant Hare Krishna, when we hear about Krishna from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. The desires which are there in our heart, like seeds, they get burnt up. No other process does that. Other processes may temporarily make us think that, okay, now I have no more sinful reactions. Yes. But what about the desires that are there in the heart? How do we take those out? That is only by devotional service can we take those out. So it happens automatically. One engages in devotional service, and those material desires which are in the heart automatically gets clean. So a person who is in Krishna consciousness is completely happy. He's not troubled by all these, uh, as we say, the the sense desires which are there from petty materialism. Prabhupada is pointing that word, and he's always happy in that natural position. Now this is what we have to understand, that each and every one of us, our natural position is that we are eternal loving servitors of the Supreme Lord. It's a loving relationship, as we have loving relationship between mother and child, or between husband and wife. So the natural loving relationship that every soul has is with the Supreme Lord. And of course, when the soul is situated in that relationship, he has nothing else to hanker for, no other desire to fulfill. He's happy in that relationship. It's a natural relationship. Is that okay? So, is it okay if we stop here for today? आज इधर तक.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening and enjoying. And Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shla Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta